Hello, YouTube. How the hell are you? This is Around the Sticks with your host, IconicBelow, and today we are talking about X Games and power rankings. But first, let's break down some playoffs that are happening right now over on MLG.TV slash I'm pretty sure it's X Games. They also may be shown on ESPN a little bit later, but today is the first day, so I want to get this out as soon as possible so that way I and you can get back to watching this shit because this shit is going crazy. First, let's talk about some playoffs. X Games are this week and are happening right now. Let's break down what I feel should happen. First off, if you're interested and missed the memo or the tweets, MLG decided to bring it to the next notch, bringing it up to a best of 7, with the rotation being Hardpoint, Uplink, S&D, CTF, Hardpoint, Uplink, and another S&D to finish out the series. So that means we got 2 Hardpoints, 2 Uplinks. But the first seed is Optic Gaming, and they are going up against Team Caliber. I feel like this is going to be a great match, but in the end, it can only be won by one person. And the only match that Team Caliber, I feel, can win is going to be the CTF. Obviously, quite a few teams lack in CTF. That's why they wanted to get rid of it, along with its randomness. But one of the teams that's actually acceptable at it is Team Caliber. So they have a possibility to win that. At best, it will end up 4-1. The next match in the bracket is Elevate versus TCM. And I feel like this is going to be the one that ends up going all the way, with Elevate only winning the 2 uplinks and possibly a hard point. Next is Denial versus Rise. This game could be a 4-1 either way, but Denial is going to win the hard point. Guaranteed. They have the AR presence, and with Attach pushing the hills the way he does, they're not going to be defeated on hard point just because Rise does not have the Slayers. I feel like Rise plays better in the teamwork games like CTF and Uplink. If they take a hard point or an S&D, they could win the entire series. Envy and FaZe are the last match, and this will end up being a 4-1. I feel like Envy being in that same boat as Denial, they fell apart in the league as well as the online tournaments. Envy may pull out an Uplink or the CTF, but at max, it could go all the way, but I don't feel it will. So, FaZe win that 4-1. Now, that brings up Optic and TCM. I feel like Optic beats them 4-2. Then Rise versus FaZe. Rise loses 3-4 to FaZe. And then it goes TK Denial. Denial 4-1's TK. Elevate versus Envy. Elevate wins 4-2. Then it goes Optic versus FaZe. 4-3, and I feel like Optic pulls that one out. And then it goes Denial TCM. TCM wins 4-3. Elevate versus Rise. Elevate wins 4-2. TCM versus Elevate 4-3. I feel like TCM pulls that out, and then the top 3 are Optic, TCM, and FaZe. And if I had to say who wins out of TCM and FaZe, I feel like TCM is going to take it out last map and then lose to Optic Gaming probably like 4-1 or so, just because Optic is utterly amazing in the finals. It's going to be great to see. Now let's break down the power rankings for the beginning of the month of June. We will be doing this a hell of a lot different, as well as we will be starting with some honorable mentions and then continue from 15 to number 1. There will be 4 honorable mentions per ranking episode. Now let's break down some teams along with some relegation teams. First honorable mention is 3s Up. This team is actually locked into the relegation tournament by Pro Points, which actually surprised me, just because they don't really do all that well in 2Ks and 5Ks. This team is a great S&D team and could take a few wins off other teams. Second is Below Zero. This team actually is knocked out of relegation, but this team is still mentioned just because of the players that are on it actually should make it into the league just by teams having to pick up people with people retiring or moving on from Call of Duty or just changing teams. Next is Enigma 6. Now there is a huge confusion with this team. Who are they bringing to the relegation tournament? Just because as I was writing the script on Thursday, they completely broke up. Enigma 6's owner decided to try and get them all under contract. I guess the contracts were completely unreasonable and wanted them to do certain things, including pay their own way into tournaments and stuff like that, along with Enigma 6 taking some of their winnings. This is a little bit ridiculous and by far shouldn't be what we are looking for in contracts, but everybody other than General has left Enigma. MLG is going to have to figure out what is going to happen with this org just because they have a spot in the relegation tournament. Are we going to give it to a team like Below Zero, or are we just going to give whoever was going to face Enigma a bye, which could be a very big thing in the end, especially if you look at the bracket. That's going to be the next episode, what is going to happen with that bracket. So that could be a very, very big thing that happens coming up. And automatic reload is the last mention. With this new XGN and AR squad, it doesn't really measure up to any other team. It seems like an 8s team that would just get shit on remotely and numerous times. So that is not a very big team I am watching out for. But with Merc on the team, you never know exactly what's going to happen with it. 15th is Synergy. This team is proving all of my fears that I had for them. They have absolutely no slaying power, and I've watched a game on MLG COD's YouTube channel against Prof. The game was close, but they were outslayed by almost 20 kills. And truthfully, that is sad. They played enough objective to hold the game close, but absolutely could not outslay them at all. I don't even think one player was positive. 14th is VVV. With the addition of Killa, this team is bound to fall down in the rankings, obviously. Sin was statistically a top 15 slayer KD-wise at both regionals and champs. Better moves could have been made. Obviously, they could have gotten rid of Twiz just to keep Sinful on the team if they wanted to add Killa. But obviously, I'm assuming this was definitely a personality clash kind of thing. Sinful obviously didn't fit with the team. They got rid of him. They moved down, obviously, in my power rankings just because they do not measure up anymore in the slaying. Number 13 is Optic Nation. The move made of adding Mochilla was great, but more moves needed to happen. In the end, Ricky is the person who is holding back Optic Nation right now. Obviously, this team struggled quite a bit in the past couple months, but Optic Nation right now is being held back by many people would say is one of their better players. I feel like Ricky, in the end, needs to end up switching up to an SMG Slayer. Probably. But I don't really know who they would end up going after. Many players are either set on their teams, or the possibility of Burns, if he doesn't make it with Orbit, could be a really, really nice addition to Optic Gaming. Number 12 is Epsilon. This team is going to be a cool team to watch. The big question marks are by far Nagafen and Royalty, as they cannot step up, or they're going to end up dropping like a rock. Truthfully, Nagafen, we know he's going to go about even, but can he put enough pressure on the hill to drop 25 kills, 30 kills? He's normally around that 20 to 24 mark, and that's a big question for me. With having Swanee and Remy obviously is going to be picking up some of the objective kills, and Swanee is going to be that stationary AR. But with Nagafen being a very similar player, more of like a mix in between Remy and Swanee, how many kills is he actually going to get? And is Royalty as good as what they hype him up to be? Number 11 is TK. This team is falling apart. Truthfully, Parasite is guaranteed to leave, with possibly Goon or Nameless joining him as well. Anything is truthfully possible with this team. It could end up not falling apart at all, but I would really like to see Parasite leave this team just because of all the bridges he's already burnt in this little short time on TK. And Goon, I feel, is completely inconsistent, and Nameless could end up being the person who ends up staying with Sharp. Number 10 is SB. By far, this team should stand out to anyone. Anticity will give them a top 5 AR presence, and if Study can slay the way he was wanted to in the league, they're going to make it. Number 9 is Orbit, by far the team that won Roster Mania Part 1. They have the core 3 that blows almost every team in relegation out of the water. With having Burns added into that rotation, it's made just better. 8th is Prophecy. They're the new complexity by far. I'm sure most people would not argue with that. If they don't get the OBJ figured out, though, they will be dropping quite a bit. But if they do figure it out, making sure Aqua is not playing the objective and push Apathy in, then I won't be surprised if they go straight up to top 5 and make the league. 7th is Envy. Don't sleep on this team. Truthfully, they are playing really, really bad and they're being really inconsistent. But there is no reason to sleep on Envy. They have Teep, they have Saints, they have Proofy, and they have Looney. They have some of the best players in the league, and if they don't make it, if they don't play well, it's going to be really sad to see this team fall apart, but I'm really excited to see what this team's actually able to do on LAN. Number 6 is Rise. By far a top 5 CTF team, and they need a top Slayer to be able to contend for the win. They are by far one of the teams that dominate in the 2Ks and 5Ks, but they really kind of lacked in the league, obviously coming up and actually making top 8 still. But they lack quite a bit when they're trying to play against other top name teams. So they add a Slayer, probably get rid of Chino, probably get rid of Wheats, and then they'd be a completely top team, maybe a top 4, top 5 team. Number 5 is Denial. This team used to be the team of consistency. Clayster is going to play out of his mind, and everybody else is going to have around a 1 KD. Now, with them winning champs, they really have seemed to get in their egos, have gotten the best of them. The only one that really hasn't is probably Clayster and JCap, but Replays really hasn't been grinding from what I've seen. He hasn't really been playing that well from what I've been seeing. And Attach, his KD was around a 1.06 or so, and now it's dropped below 1. Many people say he's getting engagements, and that's the most important thing. But you really have to look at it. The kills are what matter, especially in a game like Hardpoint. That, in the end, is going to be what wins your team the game. Just because he's below a 1 KD doesn't equal Clayster's 1.3. You got to think of it that way. Next up is 4th, which is Elevate. Temp is a great talent and brought this team in to the limelight, obviously. Their team is as skilled as anybody above them, but I feel like they are one player away from being one of the better teams in the league. If they switch out Classic for anybody with a little bit more skill and stuff like that, it'd be great. I would love to see Huke on this team, especially with him and TJ being that duo. It'd be really, really nice to see. And then TJ and Huke know how to play with each other, so that way they will be a top team. 3rd is TCM. I know many people wouldn't expect them to be this high, but they ended on such a hot note. They definitely needed to move up, and I feel like I had them about 5th in the last power rankings. So I feel like they needed to be moved up as far as I possibly could move them. And Mad Cat finished with a top 10 KD, although some of the map numbers weren't about the same because he only played about a week and a half. He still dominated in America, which was very surprising to most people. 2nd is FaZe. FaZe just finished 2nd at Cali, and they came out on a really big hot streak as well. I think they moved up 3 spots and won like 11 games straight. But the main question is, can they win the objective games with such little objective presence? And 1st is Optic. They won 3 tournaments in a month, and the main question for them is, will Karma measure up to what Enable did with them? I feel like if Karma doesn't do as well this weekend as what he's supposed to be doing, he's going to get traded for Enable. He's already been on FaZe. He already wanted to be on FaZe again, probably. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded back to them. I would rather see Enable on this team, truthfully. But that's just me. I feel like Karma's a little bit overrated, especially in this game. But they still have 1st. So, as always, guys, this has been your boy, IconicBelow. Make sure that you like and comment your opinion on the power rankings and who you think is going to be winning X Games. Obviously, most people are going to think Optic is going to be the one who wins, but I want to know your top 3, and if you want to throw down the entire rankings, you're able to do that as well. There is a link down in the description if you'd like to donate and help out as much as you possibly can. That would be great, but it is not asked. Make sure if you are brand new here to subscribe. I send out weekly podcasts like this every single week. I apologize for this one being shorter, but personally, I want to go back and watch the X Games. I'm sure you want to go back and watch the X Games and enjoy this weekend, because this is by far going to be one of the most entertaining tournaments of all the year. So, peace out, guys. See you fucking